Welcome to Real Estate Roundup. I'm your host, Emmanuel Romanis, realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, the preferred realty. When I was young, my mother actually is the one that taught me how to negotiate. And she told me that the definition of a fair price is when the buyer says, I was willing to pay more, and the seller says, I was willing to take less. That's the definition of a fair price. The reason I bring this up is we're going to speak today primarily about the role of a real estate professional in the home buying scenario as it relates to those who decide to try to sell their homes on their own. And one of the biggest complaints, if you will, of those that try to sell their home on their own is, how do I determine what the proper price of my home should be? Because, of course, no one wants to leave money laying on the table, and nobody wants to overprice their home and scare away potential qualified buyers. So we're going to talk about those things as well. With the advent of the internet, obviously, there has been a huge spike in for sale by owners, people that want to forego using a local real estate professional because the internet has made it so easy. What I find very ironic is some of the top players in these internet sites have reverted to using local real estate professionals to sell their own homes. Let me cite you two examples. The first is from the Herald Tribune, and I'll just read it verbatim. When it came to selling his Florida mansion, Al Bonati, the longtime chief executive of BuyOwner.com, chose to list his home with a local real estate agent. BuyOwner.com is one of the many websites out there now that encourage homeowners that they do not need to enlist the help of a professional agent to be able to sell their home. Second is from the Wall Street Journal. Colby Sambrato, the founder and former chief operating officer of ForSaleByOwner.com, a huge website, tried to sell his 2,000 square foot New York property himself by listing it online and through classified ads. But after 6 months of it sitting on the market, he sought the help of a real estate broker. Again, I find that highly ironic that some of the top people who are espousing you can do it on your own, apparently you can't. They're using the help of a real estate professional in the area. Joining me in a bit are going to be two of my colleagues, Georgianne Kumaris and Stacy Romanis, and we're going to talk about this among other things. But before we get to that, I want to get to a segment that we're calling Who Knew? So let me throw this out there before we get to the break. It's kind of a brain teaser. Throughout the morning, a young mother is continually scooting back and forth between the kitchen and the living room to tend to her young child. In order to get from one room to the other, she has to continually pass through the dining room, which has hardwood floors. Each time she walks through the dining room, she encounters squeaky floors, rather annoying squeaky floors. After a dozen or so trips back and forth, the squeak is simply driving her nuts, and she's trying to figure out what to do about it. Pausing for a moment, she reaches into the baby's diaper bag, which is sitting on the dining room table, and solves the problem of the squeaky floors. What did she find in the diaper bag to alleviate this mess? We'll be right back. Welcome back. Before we get to our guests, I want to give you the answer to the brain teaser that I put out before the break. Just to recap very quickly, we have a young mother with a newborn child. She is running back and forth throughout the day between the kitchen and the living room where her child is in the playpen, and she has to go through the dining room, which has hardwood floors. And there is a tremendous squeaking every time she goes through, which after a while is just driving her nuts. So she looks around and finds the solution to the squeak in the baby's diaper bag. What did she find? Talcum powder. What she did is she took out some talcum powder and sprinkled it on the squeaky floorboards and kind of stepped on a little bit to make sure that they got down through the crevices. And talcum powder, it turns out, is an excellent lubricant. So who knew? There you go. Talcum powder if you have squeaky floorboards. Now, joining me are my fellow colleagues. Full disclosure, Georgianne Kumaris and Stacy Romanis are both realtors at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, the Preferred Realty. We work out of the same office. And Stacy is my wife and my business partner. So, ladies, welcome.
Thank you, Manny.
Thanks for having us.
What I'd like to start with, probably the age-old question is, I want to sell my home. Do I do it myself? Do I hire a realtor? There was a recent survey by the National Association of Realtors, and it found that for sale by owners, people that wanted to sell their homes by themselves, accounted for 9% of home sales in 2013. The typical for sale by home owner, the typical home sold for $184,000 compared to $230,000 for the typical sale that was done by a real estate agent. So clearly a real estate agent has an impact. They tend to get higher home sales. The two top complaints that sellers had who tried to sell their home by themselves. Number one was understanding and performing the paperwork. That was just a nightmare for them, as we know. The sales agreement alone is 11 bloody pages. And secondly, and actually I thought this would have been flip-flopped, getting the right price, trying to determine how much is my home worth? What do I ask for it? What are you seeing in the marketplace regarding for sale by owners? Do you get a lot of pushback? Are you seeing that increasing, decreasing? Georgianne, let's start with you. What are you seeing in the market over your years?
Well, what we basically have seen, people want to try it on their own. And probably after the first 2 months of trying to sell it on their own, they generally switch over and have a realtor list a property because they've gone through what the obstacles are for them and realize that they don't have the expertise that we have in providing the correct paperwork and the advice that they need as far as what they need to do to their home to get their home prepared to sell, as well as the disclosures. And they also see that most of the time realtors are calling them. We have a client that might be interested, and as a real estate agent, if a client wants to see a for sale by owner, we do take them through it and we contact the for sale by owner and see if they'll cooperate with us as far as taking a client in.
Now, let me stop you right there. Do you find, do you get a lot of pushback as far as you have a buyer, you contact a for sale by owner? Mm-hmm. Are most of them amenable to that, or do you get some pushback, or is it, how much of a pushback do you get because you're a realtor?
Generally, not too much.
Okay.
Because they want to sell the property, and it would be an easier transaction for them to have a real estate agent at least on the other end of it.
Okay.
Because we would be providing the sales agreement as long as they're willing to cooperate with us from a standpoint of what our fees would be.
Now, Stace, with your experience with for sale by owners, have you noticed when you go in, if they decide to use you after trying it on their own, as Georgianne mentioned, what do you normally see as far as the way the home is priced? Do you normally have to adjust that? Do you find that it's usually pretty close? What are you finding as far as the home price?
Usually there is some adjustment that needs to be made. A lot of people are looking to certain websites to determine a value, but some of those websites are not as accurate. So it really is advisable to obtain a professional
Now, I've heard that a lot of those big websites that a lot of people use, they price based on national algorithms. Is that correct? Usually they use national
Yes.
algorithms instead of local. Okay, so what you're saying then is by using a local agent, you get more accurate pricing because you're taking into account local dynamics.
Yes.
Okay, okay. That's very interesting. And just to piggyback on what Georgianne said, there was a survey done recently by HomeGain. It was done over the summer between June and August, and they surveyed 400 homes. And what they found was 21% of the homes that were surveyed decided to try to sell their home on their own. 21%. Of that 21%, 1 in 5 eventually hired a real estate professional to sell their home. So exactly what you were saying. They want to try it on their own, but for whatever reason, they figure it's not worth it. I need to get a professional in here and get this thing moving.
And Manny, I think another thing is, from our standpoint, and if they've listed with an agent, we're going to qualify anyone coming through to view their property.
Expand on that. Qualify how?
Qualify that they are pre-approved through a mortgage and that they can come in and they have the funding. They're not just coming into, how can we say it?
Window shop.
Window shop, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Good analogy. But we require, before we take people out, that we know that they are a qualified buyer through a pre-approval or a proof of funds, because it is our time, and everyone's busy in today's world.
Sure.
And we want to make the best of their time as well, so they're not looking at homes that they really are too high for them or aren't within the range that they would be willing to purchase.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Let me switch over now to some trends in real estate. There was actually, I read it this morning. There was a National Association of Realtors survey that found that home costs are outpacing income. And what it showed was, for example, with renters. Now, this is nationwide. Typical rent, this is a 5-year study, typical rent has risen 15%, where income levels have only risen about 11%. And what the conclusion is that renters, home buyers, especially first-time home buyers, are being squeezed because their income just isn't keeping pace with home costs, rental costs. They're having a hard time coming up with down payments, things of that nature. Stacy, are you seeing anything on the mortgage side of the house to help alleviate that? Are they coming up with new products, maybe lower down payments, more attractive fees? Are you seeing anything on that end to kind of help offset this problem, especially for new home buyers?
I would have to say in this area, we've been more of a stable market, but there are programs where now you can buy a home with just 3% down, new mortgage packages out there that make it a lot easier for the buyer that doesn't have as much to bring to the table.
Really, just 3%? Because I remember the old conventional mortgage, you needed 20% down. If you were lucky, you can get away with 15%. They're doing it now with 3% down.
3% down. Now you do have to pay mortgage insurance.
Right.
So it is going to be more costly over the long run, but
still, I'm thinking for a young couple that doesn't have a lot of cash, that could be a big advantage.
yes.
Georgianne, what are you seeing? Are you seeing anything different or anything new on your end of the game?
Well, as far as there's a lot of products out there right now, and to assist people to get into homes. People come to us with, if they're in a rental situation, knowing what the rent is, and say, this is what I'm paying in rent, and we work with them to see what they could afford within that same payment. 3.5% down. If you're a veteran, there are new VA packages out there available to them that help them out. If you are in a more rural area, there's another product that's a government product. It's through USDA, and it covers almost 100% of the financing.
Oh, okay.
And but again, it has to qualify depending on the area.
Right.
There's a map that shows you, and it's mostly in rural areas. But in some of those cases, you don't have a down payment. You can borrow up to what the appraised value is on the property.
Oh, really? Okay, okay. Stacy, back to you. I know veterans right now are a big thing. There's a huge influx of veterans coming back from overseas, and like with anything else, if companies can make money on something, they're going to go after it big time, and veterans seem to be the flavor of the month right now. In your business, are you seeing that you're dealing with more veterans, or hasn't that really come up in this area with what you're seeing thus far?
I've had a few more veterans in the area, and they've been able to capitalize on the new veteran programs that are available to them.
Okay. Okay, good deal, good deal. I know, and this ties into what we were talking about before, 2008, the bottom fell out of everything. Credit got very, very tight, and there was a time there when, it seems like no one could get anything. Now I'm starting to get, mailers for free credit cards, and it kind of seems like it's starting to revert back to what it used to be. That pendulum swings back and forth and back and forth. Are you noticing, these programs I'm sure are helping. Georgiana, are you noticing more home buyers, especially first-time home buyers, because the biggest group of first-time home buyers are millennials, which I'm sure both of you are very aware of. Are you seeing more first-time home buyers starting to come back into the market, or in this area that really hasn't jumped yet?
You're still seeing first-time home buyers, younger couples coming in, single people as well. And the biggest thing with them is where their credit score is. And most of the mortgage companies will work with them. They will sit down and tell them what they would need to do if their credit score wasn't high enough for them to qualify.
Okay.
And there's also other there's other programs out there, and that's what someone doesn't realize, that they can get them into depending on what their credit score is. There may be one bank that'll tell you, oh, you have to have a 720 score and that's it. But there's other mortgage companies and independent mortgage companies that work with a variety of lenders that can help them through the process as well.
So it pays to shop around as far as a mortgage is concerned.
And I think your realtor is a person that can help you with that, because we work with the companies all the time.
Sure.
And we can make recommendations on several companies for them to contact, so that they have 2 or 3 that they can contact, that we're not just recommending one specific company, but they would have the option to talk to a couple different people.
Now, in that vein, Stacy, the ultimate decision, though, still rests with the home buyer, correct? The agent or professional, doesn't say you have to use ABC Mortgage Company or whatever.
No, it's always the choice of buyer.
They can choose whomever they wish to finance with.
Yes, and also it would be, if somebody is considering buying a home in the near future, first step would be to talk to somebody and getting pre-approved for a mortgage.
So you want to do that as early as possible in the
yes,
process?
that way you know how much house you can afford.
Okay, well that certainly makes sense. Again, so you're not wasting everybody's time. As far as inventory is concerned, Stace, we'll start with you. Are you seeing inventory still tight? Is it starting to loosen up a little bit? Does it depend on the area? What are you seeing out there?
Inventory is still low in this area. Like I said earlier, Pittsburgh has been a very stable market. In fact, that's been a draw to investors investing in the Pittsburgh area, because we are a stable market. Again, inventory has been low. It's a great time to sell a house right now.
So you'd say it's a seller's market?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially coming into the spring now.
Georgiana, are you seeing the same thing, or different? Or
well, it is a seller's market, depending what pocket of the Pittsburgh market you're looking at and what price point you're in. When you get into some of the higher price points in newer construction, you're up against new construction. And if people are looking at building a home, this is where they're going to go. And there is inventory there. As far as existing homes, our inventory is very low right now.
Okay.
And in different price ranges. And that's pretty much all across the Pittsburgh market. We're getting multiple offers on properties as soon as they come on the market.
That's great.
Which means we have buyers and not enough inventory.
Sure.
So it's a good time to sell.
Now let's expand a little bit on new construction. There's always, a tug of war between do I go with new construction, do I buy something existing, do I remodel it? Are you seeing now more of an influx of new construction because inventory of existing homes is so tight, or has that been pretty stable over the years, Georgianne?
New construction is probably in this area has grown because of we have a lot of people moving into the area coming from different parts of the country because of the Marcellus Shale influx coming into the area. And with their packages that are encouraging them to move to this area, they are looking at newer construction homes. So, and younger families are looking at new construction as well. With interest rates where they're at, people that they're moving up. So if they've had their first home and their first home has been in a medium price range and their family has grown, and they need more space, they're looking at new construction and building. And it's a good time right now for anything, whether you're buying existing or new, because of what the interest rates are.
Okay. Stace, let's take the opposite end of that spectrum with older buyers, people downsizing. Allegheny County, Washington County, southwestern Pennsylvania has an older population on average. From that end of the spectrum, what are you seeing? Are you seeing a lot of these people, empty nesters, retirement, or are they downsizing? Are they staying put? What are you seeing on that end as far as movement?
Well, you have some that will stay in their communities just because they've been there all their lives. They love their community. They don't want to move. But then you have a lot that are, the kids are grown. The house is too big, so they want to downsize.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I know in this area we have some of the best school districts in the state and very highly ranked in the country as well. I guess this would apply more to first-time home buyers. Do you see, Georgianne, is the school district a big draw, or is it like the cherry on top of the sundae?
Generally, your clients have done their homework with the internet today. They've done their homework, especially if they're moving into the area, from the school systems. There are so many websites out there that talk about the school systems in the area and the rankings and how they're ranked and how the teachers are ranked. And they've already done their homework, so they've narrowed down which areas that they prefer to look into. As far as we can provide them with the links and let them do the research on their own, and which is what we recommend. If we advise them of one against another, then they're not pleased with it. We prefer that, again, that they make that selection on their own than taking, specifically what a real estate agent or what somebody else. They need to do their homework, and I think all the information is out there for them. But they do a lot of homework, and they come here and they know exactly where they want to be. And we're fortunate in the South Hills area that we do have all top-rated schools.
Right, absolutely. Stace, do you see that being a primary factor in their decision of coming to these areas? Or again, is it just one of many factors?
We are lucky that we have a lot of choices of good school districts in this area. And there are children that have different needs in their school systems. So these parents are researching these schools to see which school is going to be the best fit for their child's needs, which is very important.
Well, that's pretty much all I have. Georgianne, we'll start with you. Is there anything you'd like to talk about, or anything that maybe I missed, or anything important that you think people should know about the real estate industry, realtors, and in general, anything like that?
Well, I think people really need to put the faith in us as a real estate agent. We are educated on it. We have to belong to national and state organizations in order to maintain our real estate license. We are licensed, and we do know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We have the statistics in the area to price your home correctly, and to give you the advice as to what you need to be doing. And the way today, everything has changed today with the internet, and everybody does their own research.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's great shows out there that give people a lot of good advice, but that's pretty much on a national basis as well. And we're here, we're local. We are your local real estate community, and we know what the market bears. So it is best for someone to trust in a real estate professional to purchase or to sell a home.
Sounds like common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Stacy, anything else to add to that, or anything that you'd like to touch on?
Yes, there's also the marketing end. It's more than paperwork. There is a lot of marketing involved, and we have a lot more tools and resources to market a property to get it sold.
And I think the other thing, Manny, in the marketing end, we are not just looking at marketing we market to the agent, all the companies as well, whatever company you're with.
And when you sell on your own, you don't necessarily have access to
No.
that.
To the real estate agents?
To the real
no.
estate agents. Okay, it's on this website, and if somebody looks
Mm-hmm.
and finds it, great. But it's not actively marketed to. And I understand there's a little over 5,000 real estate professionals in the area. So that's a big chunk of people that you're marketing to that a for sale by owner wouldn't necessarily have access to.
And as we talk about for sale by owners, and you can probably pull this up on a local site, it was recently posted that the gentleman that founded For Sale by Owners ended up using a real estate agent to sell his property in the New York market.
Right.
So
right.
Obviously he has some, there are good statistics behind it, but again, you're best to go out and do it right from the beginning, and you don't waste the time.
So bottom line, folks, hire a real estate professional. Ladies, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Diversification. It's a pretty big word, especially when it comes to structuring your investment portfolio. Simply put, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Learn more about the importance of diversifying your portfolio and choose to save.
Welcome back. I want to thank my guests today, Georgianne Kumaris and Stacy Romanis. I found the information quite interesting, even though I'm in the business myself. I thought it was very good information for the non-real estate professional. Some good advice there, and hopefully you find it you find it enlightening as well. For now, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time, we'll see you again. Thanks for watching.
Is the color that your skin was meant to be no longer beautiful? Every year, millions of young women try to change the skin they were born with and say they die for darker skin. Sadly, some actually do. Melanoma is the second most common cancer in teens and young adults, and one person dies from melanoma every hour. Change your thinking, not your skin. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org.